Cursed Necropolis Rio, session 10, I believe it is. We're back in Rio, and I will toss it over to John immediately for a short recap.
Okay, so our last session took place starting on the 4th of February 2016. We met with Vanessa Alvarez, the current head of our cult, just to catch up, find out how things were doing, etc. Everything seemed to be going well. They've been expanding into holding workshops on different religions and arts, conserving wilderness areas, stuff like that. We were told there was a great carnival or celebration taking place on the 5th of February, which involves the entire city of Rio for 1 week. Causes a lot of disruption, but also brings a hell of a lot of business in. And our cult apparently sponsors some of the dance schools and hosts some of the celebrations of local traditions and stuff like that. And apparently annually 2 million revelers pack into Rio around the clock for this festival. After the week, there's another holiday. We went to visit Tesh Regemet, the Red Sparrow at RS Global, and she hinted at something called the Diasporic Code, which was created by the Arisen scribes as a baseline behaviour for the Arisen. And although we couldn't remember it, we basically managed to blag yeah, we do know this, but just refresh our memory. And she gave us a rundown of the 5 laws. And we gradually pieced together via what the Red Sparrow said and various other bits and pieces that we had an ongoing arrangement with her, although we don't really remember the details. And she basically said that she wanted Sobek to get himself in with the Accorted Segledo, the secret court, and myself to get in with the Orishas, who are the Arisen who've co-opted the local voodoo beliefs in order to report on them and basically try and stop things getting out of control. Especially in light of the fact that there's an international event coming to Rio in August, which is the Olympic Games, so the whole eyes of the world are going to be on Rio. And she wants us just to, prevent disruption and preserve the arisen efforts, the gains that we've made as a society in Rio, so it doesn't all crumble around. We also found out about something called the Roll of Prosperity, which is a list of Arisen in Rio that Tesh Regemet, the Red Sparrow, manages, and it describes a period of time during which the Fountain of Deadwind, this emotional resonance and energy, which is on Sugarloaf Mountain, can be utilised by the person whose name is at the top of the list. We found out that Sobek's name was at the top of the list. We were planning to head there. We were given 2 gifts, vestiges they're called, items that have absorbed an emotional resonance. It was a football and a spring-loaded toy car. I took the football, Sobek took the spring-loaded car. I took the football back to integrate it into our tomb to boost the power of that up a little bit. We then went to Sugarloaf Mountain. Sobek stepped into the Font of Deadwind, attempted to absorb it and boost his Sekhem up. And whilst he couldn't hold on to the onrush of power, the onrush of Deadwind, it did, however, reset his degeneration clock, so buying him more time before his Sekhem starts to degrade. And then we finished off the session with Sobek deciding that he was going to go and speak to his guild master and try and get himself in with the secret court, and I was going to speak to Sackmist and try and get him with the Orishas, which I'd been trying to do anyway. And I believe that's where we left it.
Yeah, that's where we left. And one important addition which I'd like to make is Sobek, upon stepping into the fountain, immediately forgot everything he ever knew about the mountain, the fountain itself, actually, rather than the mountain on which it is, and turned around with the impression of, oh, I'm taking a walk with my friend here on the mountain for apparently leisure purposes. Who knows? But Sobek has been entirely scrubbed clean of any idea of the fountains, and currently the fountain is not active because you just stepped into it. And that's where we are. And I think we discussed that Khufu was giving Sobek a summary of okay, you're confused, so this is why we're here. as we walked back down from the mountain. Yeah, but Sobek, currently you have no memories of your own of the fountain or what it's supposed to be. All you know is what Khufu told you on the way down. You never discussed any of this with the Red Sparrow, as far as you remember. There's everything relating to the fountain is secondhand information right now to you. Okay, which
Still good though.
the Red Sparrow implied to Khufu when he was consulting with her about the fountains and their function, implied that Sobek might be disoriented when he steps into it. That seems to check out. He certainly is. But with that being said, we can jump into any particular piece of action we want to start with. So we have Sobek going to the scribes, I suppose.
Yeah, we go see my head honcho.
Yep, your guildmaster Bontanoth.
Who I currently can't even recall if I'm on good terms with, but we'll find
Yep.
out soon enough.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
If you walk in and he's like, "Yo," you know, probably not.
Well, did you dirty my door once again? So thought I told you.
You've got a lot of cuts coming here.
I told you 2,000 years ago if I saw your face again.
Oh no. Yep.
And Khufu wanted to go talk to Sakmist, who is Sakmist's title is the Prince of Storms, and he has co-opted the identity of Shango, the Candomblé spirit god of storms. Now, I suppose we could start with Sakmist. So I suppose you part ways. Now, this was late at night when this happened. When do you want to move forward with your respective visits? Because that we might do it in that way instead of like just picking. So currently, late at night, 4th of February, 2016. You know that tomorrow the Rio Carnival is going to kick off, and it's apparently going to be a huge thing. And yeah,
I'll actually be wanting to go and see Sakmist like pretty much straight
Pronto.
away.
Yep.
Because obviously, as I've said, I've got like a specialist in like superstitions and stuff like that. So I'm assuming I've been sort of like reading up a little bit on the sort of beliefs that they've co-opted as we sort of spoke about previously, and I know that a big part of the sort of like the Igungun is the sort of, I suppose, like the sort of masquerade dress, the carnival sort of dress, and like the parades and stuff like that. So I want to get involved in that. So obviously I want to see him as quickly as possible.
yeah. Okay, so we'll start with that. Sobek, do you want to, like, when do you want to get in contact with Bontanoth, and how do you want to do that?
I'm guessing I don't remember the protocol at the moment.
Well, it's not so much that I'm asking about the protocol. Is like, are you going yourself, trying to find her somewhere, or are you getting in with your cult? Because as far as you know, just to highlight this for the both of you, your cult is not sleeping on the affairs of the Arisen while you are dead. So they are clearly keeping an eye on things. So yeah,
I will. My first point of reference, I'll ask my cult to reach out to Bontanoth's people.
Yeah.
If she has, I'm guessing she has her own company or a group that we can talk. We can begin negotiate. Well, begin like, hello, I'm awake. You're awake. Let's go talk. Yes, let's talk. Meet me here. If that fails, my next point of reference would be probably to speak to Ibshir, and through him see what I.
You previously recalled where the guild hall is. So if we take a look at the map, I'm gonna ping it now.
Okay.
So the Brazilian Academy of Letters is your guild hall, the guild hall of the scribes in Rio.
Not too far from where I am. So.
Nope.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll reach out first because, no doubt, Antonoff is a very busy undead mummy.
A busy horror from prehistory.
Yeah, there's a lot of admin, a lot of disputes. Do we have a version of the Supreme Court in the in the Arisen culture?
You do. You do. The problem there is, much like with the diasporic code, is that you guys came up with that, and your ability to enforce it is entirely tied to what you can personally do and if other people respect that. And but you are aware, these are like baseline scribe things, so you do remember these. There is a sort of internal scribe idea of making high judgments. You are equipped, much like every other scribe. You can dole out judgment on the go. But when things get serious, ideally you get 3 to 7 really high-ranking scribes to form a sort of court, I suppose, and then they will discuss the matter and they will give out the judgment. And so probably execute as well.
If my guild status gets to prodigious levels, I could then be asked to represent.
Yeah, they could draw you in, like, oh, we need to. There's an actual heretic here doing awful things. We need to get enough people together so that we can fulfill the internal requirements and fill out all the forms, and then we're gonna deal with them.
Oh, Casmut's back, is he? I'm just waiting for him to show his face up. I know it's. If anyone's been following this from the beginning, he's in my list of bad guys, future past.
But yeah, there definitely is. There's various different types and methods of judgment that you scribes hand out, and you are familiar with them, being fairly well statused.
Yeah. I hope I've gotten better at giving judgment since my time in Rome. So that,
I think so, yeah, because you do have.
I see you laughing there, John.
you have a higher status now, I think, than you did.
I do.
Back then.
Yeah. I really worked at it.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, it could be over a day or so. I don't know how quickly these kind of meetings can be arranged. Yeah. Pretty juiced up though from my time on the mountain.
We'll see. But you get in touch with the House of Repose and Restoration, and we'll see what happens after we swoosh over to, I suppose, Khufu, you're gonna end up in the City of God. Now, unfortunately, I hadn't prepared a picture to show you, but let me, because that's where Sockmist has his sort of heartland for the cult. Now, let me. Okay. Where are we? Here we go. Okay, good. So the map is going to get a ping. And if you're zoomed in, you might want to zoom out a little bit because the City of God is here to the left of where we usually are. I'm pinging it now. So Citace de Deus is the City of God. And let me give you a little bit of background here. So the foundation of the City of God is in the 1960s, when it was a part of a deliberate effort to purge the city center of favelas by forcibly relocating the inhabitants to new government-sponsored housing projects in the suburbs. And it is home to 40,000 people crammed into less than half a square mile. So it's dense, to say the least. And it is bleak and an often lawless area. And this is where Sockmist, the Prince of Storms, makes his haven. His tomb, no doubt, is located somewhere near, but this is where his cult is the most active and where he also has several holdings. But the City of God is a jam-packed, like purpose-built kind of a new suburb that turned into a favela on the quick because they crammed in a shitload of people, and it's not really being kept up that well. So you find yourself in the streets of the City of God, and you have no trouble locating cultists for the cultists to serve Sakmis. So you get into contact with them fairly quickly.
Well, as I've said, since we're getting into like carnival time, I'm using my abilities to sort of like pimp out my Igungun costume somewhat.
Right.
And I've posted a link to that.
Yep. So you've got a new mask, a more, I suppose, mortuary than your usual mask, and some wing props.
That's it.
So you're in full-on Carnival Egungun getup, and we find ourselves in the back room of a bar in the City of God. It's not a very glorious establishment. It's more or less like a glorified cupboard with a couple of chairs, cheap plastic chairs on the outside of this like roll down wall that you can, like the metal door that you can roll down when you close the place, and then a small counter and a person behind it with just sort of bulk purchase packs of various things to sell on the cheap end, and then like there's a storage area in the back, and you're currently in the storage area in the back with there's like a freezer unit, and it's kind of nippy here, but it won't really start to hurt you very quickly, but you do feel the temperatures change, and you do feel pain, all that stuff. Your simulated flesh is still registering all these things, and eventually you know that if you go into deep freezing temperatures, it will start actively hurting your body, but then you do regenerate, so there's that. But it's not that level by any means. It's kind of faulty, the unit here, but you're basically in a very bad cold storage cupboard in the back with Sakmis. I'll put a picture actually because I have him here. Bloop. So there he is. Again, he is, as we have seen him before, shirtless, long dreadlocks interwoven with his particular religious symbols, and a pair of camo shorts, no shoes, and he's there with you, offering to shake your hand as you get there.
Yeah, I'll quite happily shake his hand.
Yeah, so he shakes yours and says, Egungun, I suppose there's business to discuss other than the sordid one that we concluded, hopefully, for good. But I don't hold out hope that the rat will remain away.
It is my belief that the previous business has been concluded in so much as anything with our kind can ever truly be concluded.
Which gives me regrets now that you speak so, as I start to think I should have just burned him, be done with him, for a time at least.
If it provides any small comfort to you, Prince of Storms, the upside, as the mortals would say, of our particular condition is that you will have another opportunity to do so. And whereas previously, as we discussed at the time, were you to have vented your anger, anyone ignorant of the situation and of your past would have seen a fully and arisen fully in the grasp of his power slaking his fury on the recumbrant body of an unconscious, puny being. Whereas when you get your chance in the future, you will be able to vent your full anger, secure in the knowledge that people will see the battle truly for what it is.
I suppose. And you can hear the disappointment in his voice.
Do not worry, you will have another chance.
How can I help you now that we are in the city of God?
Well, as I said previously when I spoke to you, I wish to more fully align myself with the Orishas, and you are, to the best of my knowledge, although my full memory has not returned, you are the member that I know of that organisation. I have recently been trying to move our cult in a direction that it can help, or at least minister to, all people in Rio, not just those who have wealth or are in the renewed, and I'll say that with a sort of a bit of a sneer on my face, the renewed areas of the city. And your group seems to be more closely aligned with the people who I originally hoped our cult would be able to help.
Firstly, I will say that while you slept, I want you to know, and your brother as well, that Menephes was quite incensed when Moro de Babilonia, which is the favela where your cult present, when Moro de Babilonia fell to the pacification units.
At which point I'll sort of like crack my fingers and I'll say, yes, a good and true servant of mine has been detained by them, and I am currently considering the best approach to dealing with the situation.
Many of my servants have been captured over the time that you've spent, and I also have spent in repose.
Indeed. It seems curious, does it not, that obviously I was only aware previously of my own servant and the numerous problems that the cult of myself and my brother has faced from these quarters. It's curious, is it not, that so many good and valued servants of Arisen have been detained by this organisation. If I were a suspicious person, I say smiling, I might suspect an unseen hand behind such an organisation.
And you would be right. You would be entirely right. That is a hand cloven in two fingers, guided by the court, and he spits the word out. The other two fingers guided by the Red Sparrow, no doubt. There is no hand in Rio which moves without the sparrow having a string attached, but it is as plain as our divine judges to me that it is the court driving us out. Witness yourselves, not aligned with the court, living close to one of these areas that are now being reclaimed by others so aggressively, with your cult living in the favela close by.
Indeed.
It has been overtaken. Many of mine have been shot in the streets while I sleep. More have been captured. And all this is just for my own self. The other Orishas, which we should discuss, I am sensing that the tides of repose have perhaps clouded some of this to you, Egungun, but
Indeed.
We have all been struck. I have not spoken yet to all of the Orishas. This is happening all over Rio. And when all of us are struck, divided as we are, there is only one hand holding the sword, albeit the sparrow is always a factor, but there is only one hand that holds the sword that strikes all the disparate Orishas at the same time, and that hand belongs to the secret court.
Indeed. I believe my brother is attempting at this moment to undertake some investigations to determine such.
I only hope that he has several robes at the ready, for he's about to lie down with pigs.
Indeed.
That is a dirty business.
Now, I have heard it said that many Arisen are surprised by the line that myself and Sobek walk, remaining removed and seemingly neutral in all of these conflicts. But as you have so rightly put it, when a single hand, regardless of whose hand it is, moves against us, we must needs respond to it. And it has become clear to me that, although personally I believe that the Red Sparrow is more concerned with her own business and maintaining her own power base, it is clear to me that when I act against the Urban Pacification Police to recover my servant, and I will act against them, there will be no pretense of the much vaunted neutrality which people seem to believe we possess. Therefore it is, I'm sure you yourself would agree, it is only wise to ally myself with those who have also been struck by the same self-hand.
It has ever been so. I have not been arisen for a long time, but the memories are drifting black slowly as we discuss more Egungun. They rise more freely, and I recall that we have had similar conversations in the past. Now, it is my recollection that you are committed, shall we say, to your own and your brother's goals, your cult, your own accomplishments, which I do not hold against you, as just to put it out there, Egungun. Not at all. For I also pursue my own, as do the Orishas, the rest of us. But my memories do not include you ever being in the merit proper.
To the best of my knowledge, that is correct. I do not recall any details that would lead me to contradict what you have to say. In the interests of full disclosure, since I believe that if I have never been adept at deception. That is not the speciality of my kind.
No, we are. If there is such a thing, we, the shepherds of the chamber, we carry the crook of truth among all of us.
And in that spirit, I will tell you that I vaguely recall dim recollections of an arrangement with the Red Sparrow that allowed us to basically go about our own businesses without interfering with each other.
This does not come as news. I would say there is, again, there is scarcely a person in Rio that does not have some manner of arrangement with Red Sparrow. We do as well. Well, it was a matter of great diplomacy in its day, I seem to recall, but there is a reason why we get along with the Red Sparrow, us Orishas, for there is an arrangement.
Indeed. As I have said previously, though, it is my belief, from what little I remember, that the Red Sparrow is mainly concerned with preserving what she believes to be the gains our kind have made. Unfortunately, that philosophy, if you wish to call it such, is based on a flawed comprehension. For only the arisen, such as ourselves, are eternal, and even we change. The gains in terms of wealth, buildings, even these urban pacification police, whilst they may be inconvenient for a time, or we may be caused to act, they are not arisen like ourselves. They are not eternal, and all things, save for ourselves, eventually end. Now, whether my actions against them, which I will undertake to retrieve my servant, will cause an issue with the arrangement I barely remember with the Red Sparrow, I will have to see. But as you have said, and I am in complete agreement with, this force guided by this hoof, this hand, chose to act against myself initially by detaining one of my servants. Had they been content to leave well enough alone, I would have done likewise. But their detainment of my own servant, and from what you tell me, your servants and perhaps many others, if we extend this to its logical conclusion, cannot be allowed to stand.
And it will not. There are things that are being moved forward for. It is our cults that live in the favelas, and the hand of the court is striking at the very heart of the favelas. No, I mentioned that Menefes, to his credit, was quite incensed when your home of Moro de Babylonia fell. You may or may not recall, but Menefes had one of the arms of his servants made their, I suppose, homes in that particular favela. I am given to understand that you had a working relationship, or at least you got along with that particular cartel of Menefes's.
I believe so.
They were all ran out or shot in the streets, I believe. And I suppose you, being situated differently than most of the rest of us, did you weather the conquest of the favela well? Is your cult well, Egungun?
Our cult has adapted, and as such is intact. However, in certain aspects, such as the retrieval of the servant who has been detained, they find themselves unable to act openly due to the manoeuvring they have had to perform in order to weather this particular storm. It is my belief, originally I was intending to act against the pacification police myself to retrieve my servant. If, as you say, the Orishas have a plan in motion to do so, then I would of course lay my, since I wish to join your merit, I would lay my abilities, such as they are, in the aid of any such attempt. If there was not to be an attempt by the Orishas, then, as I've said, I would act on my own to retrieve my servant and the servants of any other arisen that I was aware of.
It will be a time, I think, before the prisons will be addressed. There are other things, different methods of approaching the problem, all of which do not appeal to me at all. To speak on the matter further, though, of you being included in the merit, you will have to talk to, and he looks a little bit like, I suppose, like apprehensive might be the thing. You will have to go talk to Osorehe. And I'll actually, because he's mentioned these people by name now, so you will have hazy recollections of these people you've met before. I'll put them in the Orishas folder, and I will pop them up momentarily. So Menefes is the first one that he named. So I will pop his picture up now. So he is Menefes, the Crimson Lion. And he's a short-haired Arab-looking man in his late 30s, as we see in the picture. So Menefes, the Crimson Lion, is one of the Orishas, and I've neglected to put his alternate identity there, which I will now correct. So his Candomblé mask is Erinle. Okay, so that is Menefes, who you've been told apparently had a cult, some kind of criminal cartel cult in your neck of the woods, but which is now being eradicated because the urban pacification units rolled in. And since basically your own cult and his cult were neighbors, you probably got along like fairly well, at least. So that's Menefes. Then we have Osorehe, who is as follows. And Osorehe's title is the Basalt Tower of Forgotten Dreams. And his Candomblé mask is Ogun. So Ogun is for your context, because you've read up on the particular religion of Candomblé, because you requested a material, the primer, and you got that from the cult. So Ogun is sort of like a first among the Orishas of Candomblé, and is a traditional deity of war and metalworking. And it appears that Osorehe is the leader of the Orisha Merit, as you've just been told to go talk to him if you want to discuss joining. And the descriptions of Osorehe is that he's a regal and handsome man, and he looks like every inch an image of the kings of old. He is tall, muscular, and has flawless skin. And as the description continues on to say that he could easily find work as a fashion model if he deigned to pursue such menial work, which is probably accurate. Yep. So you recall these two that Sakbest mentions by name.
Well, obviously, I'll ask Sakmist if he can help me arrange a meeting with Ogun.
Yeah, that can certainly be done. And I suppose as he calls up his cultists to go out and arrange that, he goes out front and invites you to do as well. And when he's sent off his servants, he motions for the bartender of this establishment, this cupboard of a bar, for 2 drinks, and you get a very cheap local beer in a can, which Sockmist opens both of the cans and hands you one. And he sips at it and he says, "It's not quite like they used to make it back in the day, but I suppose what is?"
I'll smile as I'm sort of taking a sip, and then I'll say, "I assume the Orishas plan to involve themselves in the carnival."
Oh yes, very big affair every time. There's numerous schools in the favelas for the dances. We have several of the floats, which that word means not a lot to you in this context, but I know. Then again, did you get a primer for someone? Yeah. You talked to the cult about this, so it would actually, you would understand that it means these procession like set pieces that they push along the street, sort of like pieces of scenery for the dancers to dance on or next to.
So as I'm sort of nodding along and I'm drinking my beer, I'll say, the reason I came to visit you as soon as I could, even at this unsociable hour, is because, as we have discussed previously, I have sequestered myself and concentrated entirely on my duties, as far as I recall, for many score of years.
This is what I recall as well. Because I know currently we were suffering under the same weight
Indeed.
of the repose. But do continue.
However, that has always been because, as you're aware, my particular family amongst the Arisen, my guild, is associated with the recording of people's lives and what happens at the end of it. And in the various guises I've walked previously, there has ever been a separation of the living from the dead. Perhaps not so much back far in the past, but in recent memory. This appears to not be the case in Rio. The living and the dead are far closer here, in my experience, than elsewhere. So as someone who is concerned primarily with death, in this place, it behooves me to also become familiar with life. And since my much vaunted neutral status will no doubt soon be thrown to the winds by my actions, it would also seem an opportunity, if I'm to step down from this lonely peak of neutrality, that I should fully immerse myself in what is occurring. And I seem to recall that the original meaning of the word carnival is farewell to the flesh, and that holds a certain appeal to me.
Much of what I remember is, as you say, I suppose we've come, in some sense, a full circle, perhaps related to the rise of the star. Who knows? If it affects the world aside from us in such a significant way, but
Indeed,
it does feel like to me. Sorry.
I was simply going to say the times that I remember clearly that I have risen previously, they have always been at the behest of my cult, or I have always been presented with a task which has consumed all of my waking moments, leaving precious little time for expanding myself and acclimatizing myself to the changing times. With the turning of the Sothic wheel and the rise of the star, that is no longer the case. So, finding myself without clear direction for the first time I can remember, I am free to pursue my own goals and to explore this this new world to make associations with people such as yourself and set not a new course, but redefine the course that I'm already travelling.
It is a time of change, to be sure.
Indeed.
And it is always such a long time as the wheel turns.
And as I've said, I have no personal facility for deceit or anything of that nature or shadowy doings. And your actions that I've witnessed recently lead me to believe that you share if not the same methodology that I would use, you share the same...
He smiles at that broadly, clearly agreeing.
I'll say you have an appreciation for the same honesty rather than the games that some of our kind are known to play to distract themselves from eternity.
Well, I wasn't prepared for speeches such as this, but thank you for the kind words.
I hope you will forgive me for my lengthy speeches. As a person who is used to chronicling the deeds of the dead, it is difficult for me to speak briefly. It is not my natural way.
I suppose that brother of yours is rubbing off on you after all the millennia.
Perhaps.
If I didn't know better, I would say you're half a scribe yourself. And he laughs at like, oh, it's a joke. So he like rises up his can and sort of like in a toast of an improvised nature, and just there's like to the twins, by which he means you,
and to the Orishas.
He drinks and he says, I think it will be more meaningful that you come to us now when the wheel turns rather than any of the previous times. None of this, and he looks around and points at just everything. None of this existed the last time the star was ascendant. This is the first time since we've staked our claims here that the star is risen and a different pattern. It's not unlike a dance. And he actually gets out of the chair and he sort of, not very extravagantly with large motions, but he sort of improvises a little bit of a dance there. And he's very proficient, clearly. He is an absolutely fantastic dancer. So he just like improvises a short like series of dance moves there and says, but this time it's very difficult for even one such as I to predict the steps.
At which point I will stand up and I am not a good dancer. However, I do have my memory of the occult, and what I will effectively do is, rather than like doing an actual dance, I will do a series of postures, which will be the like the ancient hieroglyphs, like the figures you see, sort of like the mortuary sort of like hieroglyphs you see. And as I'm doing that, I say, it is also clear to me that whilst I have long forsaken the ways of the living and concern myself primarily with the dead, if, as you have said, and I have no reason to doubt you, that these urban pacification police have been responsible for the deaths of many in an unjust cause, then there are no doubt stories that have been cut short and forgotten, and spirits that cry out for vengeance, and that is of interest to me.
Many such lives. And you do recall talking with him now, and him fairly freely, referencing the other Orishas, and especially Menethys, and Menethys having a criminal cartel cult in your neck of the woods. You recall that Sakmist, and you've already seen Sakmist's cultist as well, and his elites, like personal guard and all that.
Yep.
Sakmist is also heavily invested in the underworld, and this, like, the criminal underworld of Rio. And if he's saying, like, yeah, they threw a lot of his cultists into prison or shot them, it tracks. So it sort of, the picture is more high definition in your mind now, that Sakmist probably has a lot of skin in the game, because he is also heavily invested not only in just the favelas, but his cults are criminal in nature, so, or have ties to such. So they are all basically the exact target for the urban pacification efforts.
See, the thing is, that doesn't surprise me, because if the police, such as they are, can't be trusted, and obviously, like, we've seen from the surroundings that, like, the people with a lot of money aren't really helping out the favelas. Where else are those people going to turn but to the underworld?
Yeah, and of course, it's not that they're peddling the true faith, such as you guys are, to the inner circle of your corporation. They're all attached to the sort of the original spirituality of the poor in the favelas, in the form of their candomblé spirit god masks. And that tracks as well with what you recall, that these particular faiths are much more prominent in the favelas than in the more prominent more affluent areas of Rio.
Well, yeah, I'll explain to him that whilst it was my intent that the Monosobex cult should attempt to preserve what is good and what is worth remembering about Rio, so that stories aren't lost. Obviously, they have preserved many sites, but of course, to my mind, that also applies equally to the people, which are sort of being roughshod over at the moment. So it is my belief that by aligning myself with the Orishas, I can hopefully provide support for that, because it is my belief that every person who lives, whether they be a rich businessman or a poor person selling baubles on the streets of the favelas, they all have stories, and they should all be remembered.
Well, I think that is a very good pitch for Osorehe when you have your meeting with him. He's probably not going to want to turn down more hands, because we will need all of them, I think, before this turn is over. And I can only hope that, well, we'll get to... I don't think Osorehe or any of us really want to move against the prisons at the moment. There is...
I cannot promise that I will do likewise, since my servant does need to be recovered.
And that is your business. Your servant is your own. There are movements of unrest which have been brewing due to our particular interests, as well as because the people are not content with their lot in life in the favelas. There are certain, I believe, demonstrations planned and other such events over the next few lunar cycles. We will make great use of these, and we will see what we can whip up as we move into the first stages of the dance, which hopefully ends with the court decapitated and cast into the sea as a bunch of ash.
Indeed. And as I've said earlier, my concern is with the people who have been forgotten, many of which have now passed. And it is within my power to allow those people's voices to be heard once again.
That will play beautifully along with everything else. Now, and you can tell that you have some concepts in mind which Sakmis doesn't necessarily have the receptors for in the way that maybe would be preferable to you. He seems quite like immediate and sort of less sort of about the cerebral aspect of like,
he's no nonsense. Like, he's like, right, we need to sort this out, let's get it done.
Yeah,
boom.
He's sort of like, if you wanted to make it crude, he's kind of like, my people have been killed a lot of them are in prison, we are going to fuck these people up. these people doing this, they need to fucking die, and that's what I care about. And he's sort of like, he's not being dismissive of you, because you're basically explaining your sort of purpose as such as it is, like the long-term thing which you've been working on with Sobek here, like sort of retaining some things along the way as you live and die. And I suppose his approach to that and his like body language and all is like, I can appreciate that. However, I'm gonna punch a motherfucker.
and basically what I'm trying to hint at is like, oh, those people of yours who've been murdered, like I can literally cause them to rise out of their graves to take revenge.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the part that sort of gets him out of his, because he's working himself up again, about how frustrated he is. And because you're like going around this idea of, I can have ghosts. He goes and gets another set of 2 beers, brings it over to you, the other one, and sits down again and like brings his dinky little plastic chair closer to you and sort of leans in a little bit more like subdued, and says, have you spoken to the Guildmaster by any chance yet this time?
Not during this period of my awakening.
Right, okay. I will just ask straight out, what do you think of the Guildmaster? You know by now, I don't mean this to be rude, but just to ask. And you do have memories of him. We've mentioned him by name before, but let's get a little bit of a picture going here. Okay. And then, oh, there he is. Okay. So we already know that your guildmaster is called Husani. That's the name. And the title is Reviver of Dead Things, which is quite literal.
Have you brought that picture up? Because I can't actually see it.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Husani is one of these Subaris pictures, once again.
Yep.
So there is his Subaris form. However, in his mortal visage, he appears as a short, slightly hunchbacked man in his late 40s. And he has a nervous smile and a piercing, like unblinking stare.
I'll sort of fairly non-committally, I'll say I recall our guildmaster's name. Very little else, and I have not yet spoken to Husani since my rising.
And you do also remember that Husani is a member of a merit called the First Merit.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings up the number of merits that we know to 3 currently.
Yep. So yes, I'll just say I remember vague details, the name, the merit, etc. But I haven't actually spoke to him yet, and all the details are vague.
Right. Well. All right. I've yet to go and find the guild master myself as well this time.
It is my intent to attempt to locate Hassani once our business was concluded.
Very good. Very good. Right. Well, if you go meet him, if there's things to be done, of course, I am available, I suppose. So, yeah, just to mention, if there's something needs to be doing, I can help.
You wish me to convey this to the guildmaster?
If you go up and meet him, you can put my name down for if there's guild business needs attending.
Do you have any idea where Hassani currently is located?
Probably somewhere in the mountains, but the cult is... And he gives you directions to, I think, there's a small... It doesn't even have a name, but there's some kind of like a collection of huts and hovels somewhere in the Tiuca National Park. So he gives you like a somewhat confusing it's like directions to this. Basically, it's a collection of the absolutely most poor folks who don't live in the favelas, the big sort of settlements. They kind of live on their own, disconnected from a lot of the surrounding Rio. But you can find the servants of Husani is here.
Well, once thank you for that information. Once I've met with Burgun, I will travel and begin my search there.
Right. They'll probably take you up in the mountains. So. Okay. Well, yeah, put in a good word. If you would.
Of course. And I was going to suggest while I'm waiting for a meeting with a gun might be a good time to nip over to what Sobek's up to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. So Sobek, the House of Repose and Restoration can very easily arrange a meeting.
Got to acknowledge the protocols in the situation. Got to follow the law here. Do it right. Cross the I's, dot the I's, cross the T's. I'm gonna get it right this time.
Yeah.
File things in duplicate.
Yep. So
5 pillars must be.
The cult informs you that they're gonna contact some people, and they bring back word that you can meet with Bantanath at the academy. She's there. However, it's currently closed because it's the night. So they give you like a passphrase to get by the guard at the door so that you can actually get in the building,
I'll
which
slip
isn't...
in nice and quiet. I'll get obviously there'll be a car waiting for me when I get out of the building, out of my cult, because they've pre-arranged one for me. Things just conveniently will be there for me.
Yeah, because it's like you won't walk there if you want to be like quick with this. So
yeah, I'll feel a bit strange traveling without my brother, because I always prefer to go places with Corfu, because I feel like he may not realize, but together I feel like we form a greater whole. So even though we obviously have our own businesses and responsibilities, it never feels right when I'm going incognito on my own. I hope his meeting's going well. trying to recall anything I know about Banternath. Trying to thinking fiercely.
Yeah. I'll get on that in a moment, but I'm just putting up a picture for the academy.
Do I know? Do I know if I know I keep harping on about him? I don't know if Casmut was part of this court, or was he part of a different merit?
As
Just
far
out of
as you
curiosity.
understand, Cosmic was kind of like the three of you kind of had a merit.
And he sundered this, did he?
Well, he didn't mean to hurt you guys.
But he was okay with it happening if it needed to, which I think.
Well, he apologized for it.
He did apologize. There is that. That means I'll put a good word in room for the judges, but they will flay him to
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it might have been a big picture that I picked. Okay, there it is. Okay, good. So this is the building.
Very nice. It only seems to have 4 pillars though, which I feel is an oversight.
Yeah, they're lacking one.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
suppose you can't have everything.
So that is the building that we're going to. Yeah, we're gonna cut into the action itself. So you've gotten past the guard at the door, and you can meet with Bontanath in a room. Let me get my notes here, so I get this right. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay.
Well, I even have dots and stuff that might help me here.
Wow.
Wow.
What luxury is this? So, yeah, what you remember is this is a place you've been to before, many a time. And about the academy itself, you remember that it's dedicated to the promotion of Brazilian literary arts, obviously, and the preservation of the Brazilian Portuguese language. And they publish the orthographic vocabulary of the Portuguese language. Now, it's not a dictionary. It lists words and their grammatical categories, such as tense and gender, but not definitions. And they say that a word not found in the vocabulary is not truly a legitimate word in Brazilian Portuguese. So these guys, the actual academy itself, wields this kind of like literary, like language authority.
Which makes complete sense as why we'd have a stake here.
So they kind of define like, this is true language, this is not in our vocabulary. And
but they also add to it and remove things. And
that is true as well. So they have the society, the Academy of the Brazilian Academy of Letters, has exactly 40 members, none of which are arisen. You are here on different status.
Older work. We're here for older words.
Yeah, yeah. The society itself has 40 members, and the place where they meet inside the academy, which is also where you are headed, because you were told to go here by the guard in order to meet up with Bantanath. It is a room which is which holds 40 chairs around the table.
One
so
for each member.
Quite large.
Okay,
yeah, one for each member. And all the seats are named. So all the seats are named for the original. Sorry, let me actually revise that. So, yeah, they're numbered, of course, from 1 to 40, and let's see. Sorry, I'm revising this so that I get it exactly, because there's a bit of involved shit going on here. Okay, yeah. So Yeah. There are sort of two individuals associated with each chair. The current one, who holds said chair, is called an immortal. So you're going into the Hall of the Immortals.
Right.
And so all of these people, these 40 people, they're all called immortals while they hold a chair here. And all the chairs have a patron who is a person who's deceased or was already deceased by the time they founded this. And they're associated with these like prior contributors to the literary arts of Brazilian origin. So there are these like dead literary names associated with each chair, and also the current immortal is like they have very strictly named places. No musical chairs here. So
yeah, everyone knows where they're
yeah,
gonna be sitting.
everyone has their place. They're
Nicely
named.
ordered. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, this is so. Oh, yes. I might take some of this back to the cult.
It's like we need. I seen some chairs.
Right. Restructure.
Yep. And also, of course, they know the history of each person who's sat in a chair.
Yeah.
So they have like this lineage of these immortals, and then it goes all the way back to the first one.
And this is why Kofu helps balance me out, is because when I'm away from him, the scribe in me becomes more pronounced. I will make my way. I don't know if I'm meeting her alone or with other members of the court. Happy to do so.
It wasn't specified, but it becomes aware. It becomes apparent as you go into the hall that she's there alone. So she's sitting at a chair and motions for you to come in as you open the large double doors to enter the Hall of Immortals.
I'll take a seat, like almost like I'm having an interview, you know. Kind of cross the leg, and I kind of sit back, fold my arms, and take a few, you know, breaths that aren't really breaths. I'm just, it's just for sure. I'm guessing I still have the kind of clothing and image that Kofu's given me. That sticks
you
around
have,
even though he's not here.
Yeah, you have a beige business suit.
I'm guessing conveniently there'll be like a glass of wine or a drink available.
No, actually, no.
No. Business first. Okay.
Well, if you want to party, you know who to call.
Yeah.
There's a guy for that.
In my phone, my boy Ipshita.
Yeah.
In all caps. So yeah, I don't speak immediately. I just kind of soak in the room. I look around with my many visions. Just sort of take it in. Not like I'm concerned or anything. Just, you know.
And as you do so, everything sort of radiates like slight arts of Irem, which fits with what you seem to recall. It's on a very cursory glance. It feels like the whole everything about this building is sacred architecture. So there's the whole building is powerful in a quite subtle way, but like this
scribe AF.
Yeah, this has been purpose built by your guild to be what it is, and you were successful at it. And the whole building has power to it, and more specifically, every chair that you see in the room is imbued with Iremite arts. And as you sit and ponder, you become aware of, with intuitive understanding, because it's your guild's magic and craft at work, you could use the energy of your pillars, i.e. spend a pillar point. You could conjure up any of the spirits of the lineage of immortals that have sat in your chair, the one that you're sitting in right now. All their spirits are in the chair. You could,
okay.
you
This
could
is
bring,
is this my chair then?
yeah, your chair, and you know this to be true, or can speculate at least for all the other chairs as well. So,
am I misunderstanding this? Does that mean it's possible there's up to 40 members of this court in relation to the 40 chairs or the 40 non-arisen members?
to put it simply, there are let's take the arisen out of the picture.
Yeah,
so
there's the 40.
the Academy of Brazilian Academy of Letters is always composed of 40 living people. They all sit in these chairs. However, every previous member of the academy has been bound to the chair that they sat on while they were alive.
Yeah.
So the lineage of immortals for each chair actually exists within the chair itself. When an immortal dies, they put the immortal in the chair. And you, sitting on a chair, and if you know this to be true, like the arisen sitting on the chairs, you can spend your pillars and discuss with any of the immortals bound to the chair that you're sitting on.
Kofu would love this place. Well, he'd love this aspect of it, maybe not so much the ordered beauty of it.
Yeah.
And
you are, as you're glancing away with your god sight particularly, all of this resonates with the word, a capital W, which is basically the sort of mystical arts of your particular guild. This is a very powerful place,
especially for a scribe, yeah.
For scribal arts, especially.
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll use maybe one day I'll talk to some old scribes in these chairs.
Yeah.
For now,
it's
the turn. It's the Southwark turn.
Yeah. So Bontanath is sat there in a conservative, like, business attire. Yeah. And I'll actually bring up the picture as well. So.
Yeah, I've got it up, unless it's different from the one I'm looking at.
No, this is the same one, but I didn't bring it up, so it doesn't show up for John. But so Bontanath is sat there in conservative business attire, and she gives you a smile and says, "Welcome, Sobek, Gaze of Justice, back to us. It has been some time, I seem to recall, and it is a pleasure."
Yes, as I was just ruminating on Bontanath, Artificer of Secrets, I can never always recall how many times that we have done this, yet it is always a pleasure to reconnect with you. And I see that our influence and our ways are still maintained in good stead.
Yes, we have spent a lot of resource and influence to keep it so. And as always, as you well know, we are quite successful in these endeavors. Much thanks to your own efforts at times, I seem to recall as well. Even though,
yes,
is I wonder, Sobek, now that we are here, is this the time that we discuss whether or not you feel comfortable, feel like it's the right time to associate yourself with the court on a more permanent basis? I know that we have done the same song and dance for quite a number of times already, and the businesswoman in me would eventually like to see some results on that front.
I can understand that. But as I have mentioned before at different points, at different times, with different members around, that one of the advantages I have is the things that I can do outside of the court, while never going outside of the mandate that we have with our fellow arisen.
By the way, you remember her title as a guild master, and it is called Kenbet. I'll put that in chat.
Kenbet?
Kenbet.
Guild master. Ooh. Kenbet.
So that's sort of like the Supreme Tribunal judge.
That's my promotion ambitions. One day, so like a master of truth. Oh god, that sounds a bit too dangerous.
It's no longer like I serve. It's I hand it out.
I am the truth. See, I seek, as always, to advance myself within the court and within our guild. But there are advantages to what I do, especially with my brother, Corfu. And I will begin, for brevity's sake, I will begin to explain my recent antics with Mendez and Sackmist and, dragging Ibsheta in. She probably already knows some details, I'm not daft, but she, and this was made possible by the fact of my neutrality.
Also, you now discussing all these things and being aware that she is a part of the secret court, it dawns on you now that she is also the leader of the secret court, as well as your guild master.
You never actually clarified that to me, but I kind of thought that anyway. Like, I kind of thought this person the title would imply that she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, but yeah, she is. You sort of ascertain that now in your memories that she heads both the court and your guild. So how do you explain this is me asking you, in what way do you describe how Apep Medes ended up back in the hands of his own cult? Do you give like the straight up version, which is like your brother Khufu convinced Sackmist to not burn Apep Medes with kerosene in a ditch in a favela, or do you do something else?
I think in this case, I'm not afraid to, shall we say, polish and embellish a little bit, as long as it doesn't go against the 5 pillars. But I think I'll play it straight at this point, because I feel like Bantanas is more than willing to test me on what I say, and she will know the truth already and be wanting to see how much of it I actually give.
Yeah, of course, we do know that Bantanas is also known as the artificer of secrets.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm banking on the only person that's probably better at keeping something under wraps is the Red Sparrow. And there's a high chance that they could be good friends. So you got to play.
Yep. So Bantanath nods along as you tell your story and says, I do appreciate you and your brother there handling the situation so that Apep Medis's cot was retained. I would not have any of the court, never mind any arisen, or any of the arisen either, mind you, that do not belong to the court, burned and have their cots destroyed. For that represents not only the loss, of course, of, well, servants of the judges for a significant portion of the time, but also risks, as you know, the one of the very few dangers that we do face in our existence on some level, the depredation of the devourer and defilement becoming one of the lifeless. So you do have, along with your brother, you do have my sincere thanks for...
We will continue to serve the pillars and do what we can to find more about how this AMCAT came to be.
That is a priority, and it will need to be addressed how such a thing came to be, who did it, for these things do not appear as their lesser kin do on accident on occasion. These are crafted things, and
this does concern me because, and I cannot really say this in front of my brother. He has his responsibilities, but the Orishas, they are like a wild hound, and unless you keep them leashed, they tend to destroy more than they help. But this Amcat, it seems much more of a deliberate attack, more finesse than they are usually capable of. So it would seem that it is something else, not them, that's doing this to me.
I know well the arsenal of the Orishas, and it consists of desperate young men, for the most part, given modern weapons and ancient orders, and it always ends up in death.
I do appreciate Sakmis' boldness, though. At least it's something you can negotiate with care.
I suppose there is something to be said for performance in the field when it comes to morale. But
our work is the important one.
In the court, as you well know, we do care about the results as well. And given that you, in this lifetime, as in previous lifetimes, you speak with some authority on these matters and with an appreciation for the things that we stand for, I wonder, Stabek, if there is a hidden hand to your reticence in further aligning yourself with us in previous lifetimes, of which I will not accuse you of in this one, as we do degrade in memory. But let it be said that I know that things are not as clear-cut with you and your brother, for it is as plain as day with anyone with the eye, for anyone with the eyes to see, that it is not just you and your brother playing at faith in your little catacombs. It's something more. However,
I just noted this. I'm just taking it and nodding. I'm not disagreeing. But,
however, it is, of course, in the interest of us as the guild, small though we may be, in case you need refreshment on this, it is myself, yourself, Sakons, known as the Oubliette of Flowers.
Oh, yeah. I was like, the name.
And one that we don't have on the list there yet, but which I will now add because she mentions this one by name. So, herself, yourself, Sakons, the Oubliette of Flowers, and then an Arisen called Hessejet, the Empress of Azure Waves, who unfortunately is aligned with the Orishas. And I'll put up the picture now. And yeah, you do have a memory of her. And unfortunately...
She's a scribe.
She is.
Well, no one's perfect, I guess. No. Even a scribe can join the wrong club. Empress of the Azure Waves. And I've had previous dealings with this particular...
yeah, you know her. But she is... And actually, like, the Bantanath continues. But as you might recall, Hestejet does not spend a lot of time in Rio. So it does usually default to myself, yourself, and Sakons.
And I am at the pleasure of the guild. I'm happy to help with any issues that we currently have in this turn. I have my own matters to deal with as well, naturally.
Of course. However, things are moving now that will require a lot of attention. You will no doubt be aware of the carnival soon to take place in Rio. In fact, it starts with the next morning.
No doubt Ibsheta is excited.
Ibsheta is planning for all the diversions as is his place, and we shall follow along.
Do you have need of me during this festival? Is there something
I
should
would
be
have you join the court, if we are being honest, for just a little while here, Sabek.
That day may come, but
But it is not this day.
perhaps not now.
I would
feel
know why, if you would be inclined to enlighten me.
it is a complicated answer, Bantanath, Artificer of Secrets. Can bet of our order. It's things that I've seen recently and memories of previous encounters with our kind. I feel something is upon the horizon, and I feel joining the court in a more concrete fashion would be wrapping me in chains when I need to be more able to maneuver and do the work of our order as well as the judges will. I recently had a memory of my time in Rome. I know that is
She raises an eyebrow.
Yes. A time, and I feel this is very telling of my current time. When we ran into some diabolical creatures, no doubt infused with Sekhem, but they don't have the wit to use it. I remember seeing an artifact, which I didn't unfortunately know what it did at the time. But I remember I had a fortunate demise. Kind of smile, torn apart by these beasts. My brother managed to rescue my body, thankfully, but I was gone for a time, and I remember the things I saw while I was gone troubled me. And I feel
What did you see that troubles you as you and she's giving you that look as if like, stop me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What troubled you as you descended into the twilight?
Fragments of Irem, not concrete enough that I could actually recall properly.
Such things are known to happen.
The great beast, I can't remember the top of my head. The one that walked with me, the one.
Well, you actually do recall that in great detail.
Yeah,
it left.
I can't remember the name of it, but I remember this.
I'll put that in chat as well for your
it was like
records.
a great dog, was it?
Yeah, a giant man with the head of a jackal called Anpu, the opener of the way, a precursor to what the Egyptians knew as Anubis.
Because as you know, and one of the reasons I enjoy Ibsheta's interests, shall we say,
she smiles.
Is that we are the voice of the word. We understand its power and its potential. And I kind of like wait for her just to agree.
She nods along as if for you. Yeah,
but
I know the basics of our guild.
Yeah. And I'm getting. But before the word was a thing we could keep, there was imagery, there was art, which was a proxy before the word became what it is now. And these things I saw to me were words, both speaking to me of the past but also the future. And they troubled me that things are coming, things are coming that we have not prepared for and that we are not ready for. I know that is vague, but these messages never, shall we say,
No,
concrete.
Duat much less than the Twilight.
Which is why my loyalties, as you know, to the guild, 100%. Um, after leaving the Alchemists and seeing what they did in Aram, see the memories of it are somewhat phased now. I have never been anything but a loyal member, but to do the work that I need to may require me to operate outside of the court. But that does not mean I work against it.
I would be quite interested were you to receive further visions from Duat or the Twilight,
I would,
to
of
hear
course,
of these.
happily to share these
You
with you, but
speak of ill portent, and I would like to have these at hand for whatever comes next. For I am quite aware that the Rise of the Star is going to herald some quite notable changes, as the world has become, shall we say, more prone to change as time has gone on, and a great moment of change in this environment will result in several ripples.
and in
So,
previous, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, just go. No.
I would say in previous ages, we have always had our differences. I mean, this is the arisen of the different
Mm.
guilds, but we have always been tied together by the memory of Arem, and we all seek to honor that memory. But as time goes on, I feel some of us are deviating, and the consequences of that I feel may be what I am required to deal with. I cannot really give you more details. I feel it will reveal to me in time.
Are you bringing charges of heresy and apostasy, Sabek? Gaze of Justice? Is that
It's kind of
the milk that we are circling?
potentially in the future.
Intriguing.
I know of one incident that it skirts the edge, Antanath,
I
Artificer Secrets,
suppose this
etc.
is an instance that will be revealed to me later. Perhaps not by your lips, but others, as you will no doubt refuse to explain this to me in greater detail.
I feel like I'm being prodded there. Like, so. It depends. One could see it as a philosophical debate.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, an arisen has lost their way, but I saw it as treason at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
I did not know what judgment to place upon them. But my brother took care of it. I kind of say with a smile. So
I suppose we ought all to join the shepherds then, if they are to give out judgments.
the shepherds
Great
that know
change
that
indeed.
is that
I
know the
jest, of
Orisha.
course, Sobek. I will not pry further, however. I would caution you against hiding apostates. And I will leave it at that. And we will perhaps
Understood.
revisit this at a later point in time.
If I find concrete evidence of their transgressions, I
Mm-hmm.
will reveal them in full. But I want to give the truth chance to unveil itself rather than jump like an Orisha at the first sign of trouble. We must observe the pillars.
So, what are we to do with you then?
As I said, if the court has need of me, I will happily assist in any capacity that I can. I would be interested in discussing possible educational benefits if it is available. My memory of Rome, it stirred within me a need to better defend myself in case our fellow arisen.
Is your fire powder weapon not enough? As I recall, you are quite fond of it.
I am. I like to use a model instrument from where possible because I feel it reminds me of the progress that they make, and it's good to learn new things.
Well,
but this is more for threats that require a little more lethality.
I will take that as insinuation that you would wish tutelage.
If that is something that you are willing to part with, Artificer of Secrets.
Of course, it is the function of the guild to further the understanding of us all. And this wonderful place, there is no better place for it.
And I hope that despite my reluctance to display my colours far and wide, that this will be the turn that I show you that I am worthy of inclusion into more advanced matters of the guild.
No doubt.
I know you know my interest.
No doubt. And yes, I do. Sobek, I would ask of you one thing in return.
Okay.
I would have you attend one of our functions more if you so choose. I would have you be on friendly terms with all members of the court.
Of course.
After all, I do not wish to hoard your expertise just for myself.
Do I know if I'm on bad terms with any of them? Or is that just something I decide in this case?
Yeah, you don't really have a clear picture. You know that Sakon is a scribe, so maybe you're on good terms with her.
Yeah.
Who knows? Ibsheta, I guess you're on good terms with him. If good can be uttered in connection with Ibsheta at all, and Apep Medes, well, you kind of saved his physical existence, so that may be good, maybe not, but but you don't seem to recall like, oh no, I can't be in a room with this guy.
Well, I'm at least above Sackmist in Medes' opinion.
It's probably a safe bet that anyone who is not the Orishas is probably already doing great. And given that you're kind of like, oh, I want to be in the club, but I don't want the membership card, so can I just like hang out with you guys?
An associate, but not a full member.
Yeah, prospect.
We grant you a seat on the council. A seat on the council. We do not grant you the rank of master.
I will have Ibsheta send you an invite. It will be the usual fare, and you're getting some. Actually, I will put it down for you to decide. Have you attended one of their functions before? And this isn't going to be like, oh, it's a cocktail party. It's going to be a big deal for the court.
Yeah, at least
Okay.
once.
Yeah. So you know that. Now thinking back on this, as Bantanath is inviting you to this, she says, "I will have them send an invite over to you, your people, at the house." And you recall that it's going to be an interesting sort of affair, and remembering these functions now, that Ocorte Segredo is served by multiple cults. Like, everyone probably has their own cult. You presume, you don't know the details, but you presume everyone has their own cult. However, they have one cult that sort of is common across them all, and it is a big one. And it's called Os Toreros, which means the bullfighters.
And does that serve all of the court?
Yeah, it serves the court as a whole.
Okay, right.
So it's sort of like a shared massive cult between them all. So Os Toreros, the bullfighters, serve the court, and Os Toreros is also, from your previous experience, you've been there once before in one of these things. It's pretty much like eyes wide shut, except eyes wide open.
Eyes wide open all the time.
Yeah. It's the rich and influential people, and absolute hedonism to the max, which we've had a little bit of with Ibsheta and also Khufu having a little bit of a visit to Copacabana back in the day. Yeah, so you recall this, like, it's a bacchanal, like it's just everyone doing whatever they want
to whoever they want.
Yeah, and it's the movers and shakers of society, the one percenters having an absolutely ludicrous time.
And this is a sort of to explain Sobek's thinking a little bit. He's reticent to get too entangled, because one of the reasons he wants to advance through the ranks of the guild is to better understand the pillars and the laws of which, you know, he has to consider when something transgresses against the divine, and then his judge would decree that I have to do something about it. And it's kind of like, he's not sure that everyone in the court would meet the requirements of the pillars as he raised the ranks. He might have to bring them to heel, and he doesn't want to get too close to them and then have to, shall we say,
be like, oh no, you guys, you don't meet my requirements, so bye.
He has to take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But also his neutrality makes him useful in that people from other courts will approach him, so that's always been a useful thing. He learned that from the Red Sparrow, I think, that having the ability to talk to other courts and get on with them is a useful tool in being a scribe.
Yeah, I would say that if there's one thing you're sort of picking up on with regards to the Red Sparrow, is that everyone knows the Red Sparrow.
Yeah. And she is an alchemist, isn't she? Yes.
Yeah, she is born of gold. Yeah.
She'll have a guild. She obviously, she must be the guild master of the alchemists around here.
I think it's a safe bet. It's a good assumption.
If it's not, I can't wait to meet whoever that is.
Yeah, who is the guild master then?
Possibly the owner of Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, that old mummy.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna fade out on you thinking about the bullfighters having all of the fun that can be had when you are rich, entitled, and entirely free of any kind of restraint.
It's not really his. It's not really his scene, but he understands he needs to attend from time to time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can get some educational help.
Yeah, educational help from the orgy. The educational help will be forthcoming, however, as we fade out from the Academy of Letters with Bontanath discussing with you, like, what exactly are we talking here? Because you are capable, so I will assist you if you want to learn, I suppose, the higher mysteries of those mysteries that are available to us, i.e., magic, whether guild or otherwise. And we already know from what we've discussed that you have a particular utterance in mind.
Yes. Yeah.
Are we sticking with that one?
I'll have another look because there's a lot of juicy stuff in there, but
Okay.
I think that's
yeah. There's a of course, Bantanath can only help you with the things that she knows.
yeah.
So
If she doesn't know that, then I'll perhaps look at other.
Yeah, but you're free to discuss with her. So what are you trying to get from her?
Something. It would basically be something that can help me if I have to fight another Arisen, like an actual or supernatural creature, in a more direct manner. So.
Well, in your short discussions, yeah, she indicates that she can help you with an utterance called "Blessed is the God King," to cast down the unworthy with disdain.
Which does fit to what my guy is about. Yeah. Because that is useful to me 100%, but also, as John has indicated, eventually could be very useful to him too.
So she can actually start. Actually, I'm just going to say that she, if you're willing to spend time with her at the academy, you are basically at the convergence of your guild's arts here in the guild hall, as it is. So it is exactly the place to learn in Rio. So I think she can probably teach you the utterance if you're willing to spend like time until tomorrow at some point.
Yeah, I'll just give John like the kind of cheating wife text. I'm working late tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, the secretary has a problem.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long. Oh, the project's going on forever. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, there's a lot of meetings throughout the night, and oh no.
I mean, I'd invite you along, but it's just me signing all this paperwork, and it's just boring. It'll just be.
Scribe stuff.
Scribe stuff, yeah.
But yeah, she can help you with the utterance, and because the guild hall is the apex of your mystic arts, it's quite quick to pick it up. And also, it's the guild master, so she is very proficient at this sort of thing as well.
The punctuation is so good.
And the thing is, as well, as we mentioned, I think at least once before, the utterances need not be literal utterances because it's your soul speaking. And your lips, anyway, are a memory of your lips being made real by magic. So you don't even have lips or a throat to speak with. So it's your soul speaking. So basically, her soul is trying to teach your soul the correct magical utterance, the cosmic power that is the utterances. So you can put down your points there if you want to.
I shall do that at the end of the wrap.
Yeah, good. So we're done with that, and I think to close out, because we're getting on a bit, and I do need to get up in the morning. So I think we're gonna jump back to Khufu. Do you intend to go and have a chat with Husani during the night as well?
I don't. I'm not going to go and see Husani until after I spoke to Ogun.
Okay. Oh yeah. Because I forgot. So many meetings. So yeah, I guess we're gonna meet up with what's his face? Osoreje. Yeah. So, Padoop. So somewhere in a fairly rundown part of Rio, we cut into the scene of Osoreje, the basalt tower of forgotten dreams, and Khufu, the chronicler of the dead, discussing. So you see Osoreje as he is. He's dressed like in a t-shirt and some slacks, not very ostentatious at all. However, he is quite regal in manner and bearing as well. He sort of radiates this air of, like, I am king. So I think we're already progressing into the conversation as we cut in, and Ozrehe is saying, I can appreciate what you've done for Sakmist and the rest of the Orishas, and it's not like I can decide for them all. It doesn't work like that, as you might remember from previous lives with the Orishas. However, I can sway them to a point, but I would be reticent to do anything resembling that while you associate with the one you call brother, who associates with that nest of wildness that is Ocorto Segredo. There's no way.
Whilst I can understand what you are saying, my association with my brother is a long and deep association. We share many things, including our worshippers. You surely cannot expect me to simply divest myself of all of that.
No. And I'm not asking you to. I do not begrudge you any of this. But I do not think it would be acceptable to us or beneficial to either of us were we to, I suppose, sign you up. Now, that is my initial assessment of the situation, and I am aware that whatever it is that you have going on with your brother, that seems to be working quite well, from what I can tell. So you are accomplished, and we can always use accomplished individuals.
Very well then, what do you suggest?
We are more or less under siege, which you probably heard from Sakmis already.
Indeed.
This will not be the case forever. I will be taking the Orishas from the various hiding places and our servants, and we will strike down the court. It will happen over a period of time, and there are multiple different ways in which we will go about this. Again, Sakmist might have told you something because he is careless with his words. I need proof, not only for myself, even though that is true as well, but for the rest of the Orishas. As I said, I cannot command them to embrace you. I will need proof that you can act in our interests without ties imposed on you by your brother, the Red Sparrow, the court, Husani, that decrepit old, and he sort of like catches himself and is, your guildmaster? I need to be able to convince the others that you are not burdened with these various ties, so that when we move, we can move as one and be assured that you will move as one as well.
And what would you deem suitable proof?
That is a good question. I am open to suggestions if you have such.
Very well, let me make such a suggestion then. During my conversation with Sackmist, I discussed the fact that one of my loyal servants is being held by the group known as the Urban Pacification Force.
Yes, the enemy.
It was revealed to me that a number of Sackmist's servants are also being held or have been killed.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Would my freeing of these servants be sufficient proof of my intent?
I suppose. As far as the court and the Red Sparrow goes, because both of those are in bed with the urban pacification units. I suppose perhaps at a stretch that might count for your brother as well. How do you disavow yourself of the first merit, though? And Husani, your guildmaster?
I was not aware I was a member of the first merit.
No, but your guildmaster is.
Indeed, but that does not bind me to them.
I was not aware that the ties of the shepherds were that loose. He says with a slight sort of upraised smile, or a smirk, I guess.
Well, allow me to put it this way. As far as my memory stretches back, I have had neither contact with Hassani, nor has Hassani attempted to impose their will on me. I do not see any reason why this would change.
That does seem to be his way. Say you liberate, well, you cannot get them all. You bring back servants to whatever number of Orishas you are able to. In addition, and he describes a geographical location which sounds very familiar to you. It's a hovel collection in the forest, in the national park, which you already know from Sackmist as a way to, go there, because Husane's cultists are there, and they can help you get in contact with him. He describes the place, the directions there, and he says, I should see the place burnt. As a gesture.
Very well.
With these, we can hope to summon the Orishas and discuss the matter further.
Very well. In which
Realize, Khufu, Chronicler of the Dead, that my brothers and sisters are a fractious lot, and I cannot give you guarantees.
Understood.
I hope dearly, against hope, that one day we shall be more united and they will see things my way more than they do now.
Very well then, in which case I shall consult with Sackmist to find out more about those members of his cult that are being held, and I will begin to make my plans.
Very good. I hope that you will find good fortune in these endeavors, Khufu.
Thank you. Until we meet again. Thank you for your time.
Yep. He nods and goes on his way.
Okay. And I shall head out. Like I say, my plan's basically to get like a brief sort of description on numbers and any sort of descriptions I can get about the servants of Sackmist that are being held.
Yep.
In that. Since my plan was effectively to like storm the building anyway to free my own like servants, I may as well like free some of his while I'm in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're planning a great heist, I guess.
I don't know about great heist. I was more sort of planning on like throwing a load of undead at the front of the building, whilst they're dealing with that, sort of storming through the back of the building, smashing down all the walls and just laying everyone out.
Yep. And I suppose that works as well for a heist. I do believe they call that going loud.
Yep. And as for the burning the hovels down, that's fine. There's no reason I have to like walk in there with a torch and set fire to it myself.
Mm-hmm. No.
I'm sure it'd be easy once I've consulted with the cult to find some sort of like explosive ordnance that can be fired from a distance.
Oh, for sure. They can probably figure some, like you could probably get some dude and just be like, go, here's money.
To be honest, I'm thinking more sort of like hire someone with a small plane, fly over it, push explosives out of the door, continue flying.
That works as well. That can probably be arranged. Okay, so you're going to have a whole bunch of planning and coordinating with Sackmist on your schedule. And we know that Sobek is practicing the utterances the utterance, blessed is the God King, with Bantanath. And I guess maybe there's a glimpse here for us, not to you, Sobek, because you are arisen and you do not see the Subaris form of other arisen as they inflict Subaris, but for us as the audience, we're gonna take a look at what the Subaris form of Bantanath is. If I can find it, here we go. Please. Okay. No. Yeah. So we see Bantanath as she is. Put up the picture there. And as she's basically using the utterance so that you can see and hear it with your own senses, she remains much as she is. Her eyes turn black, and because she doesn't have like a hood like she does in the picture, she instead, like, her hair melts together into two cobras that extend from the sides of her head, and there's two like serpents coming out of her now bald head, and her eyes are black as she uses the utterance, blessed is the God King. she's not using the third tier because we would know that there would be changes.
There would be problems.
Yeah. But yeah, we see her in her Subarus form there, and I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for now.
Cool.
It was a bit of a meeting-rich session this time, but
Well,
I think
thank you very much for running it.
Thank you very much, as always. That was very
and until next
interesting.
time.
Indeed. Right, I'll stop the stream here.